The old Blackwood Manor stood silhouetted against the bruised twilight sky, its jagged gables and broken windows like the teeth of some ancient beast. Locals in the nearby village of Oakhaven whispered tales of it, stories passed down through generations, tales of shadows that moved on their own, of disembodied whispers, and of a chilling presence that never truly left. Sarah, a young and somewhat reckless paranormal investigator, had always been drawn to such places. Armed with her EMF reader, infrared camera, and a healthy dose of skepticism, she arrived at Blackwood Manor one cold autumn evening. The heavy oak doors creaked open as if inviting her in, the silence within thick and expectant. The air inside was heavy with the scent of decay and dust. Moonlight filtered through the grimy windows, casting long, distorted shadows that danced with the slightest movement. Sarah set up her equipment in the grand hall, the once ornate room now stripped bare and scarred by time. As the night deepened, strange occurrences began. Her EMF reader flickered erratically in areas where there were no electrical sources. The temperature in the room plummeted inexplicably. And then she heard it, a faint whisper, like the rustling of dry leaves, just at the edge of her hearing. "Hello," she called out, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. Only silence answered. She moved through the manor, each room more unsettling than the last. In the library, books lay scattered as if thrown in haste. In the master bedroom, a cold spot lingered near the decaying four-poster bed. The whispers followed her, growing slightly louder, sometimes sounding like a name being called, other times like unintelligible murmurs. Driven by a mixture of fear and fascination, Sarah ventured into the basement, a dark and damp space where the air hung heavy and still. The whispers here were more insistent, swirling around her like unseen currents. Suddenly, a cold hand brushed against her cheek. She gasped, spinning around, but there was nothing there. Panic began to set in. Sarah tried to rationalize everything. Drafts, old house settling, her own imagination playing tricks on her, but the feeling of being watched, the chilling whispers, the inexplicable cold, it was all too real. She decided to leave, to gather her equipment and get out of this cursed place. But as she made her way back to the grand hall, the heavy oak doors slammed shut with a deafening bang. She tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. She was trapped. The whispers intensified, now sounding like a chorus of mournful voices. Shadows flickered in her peripheral vision, and she could have sworn she saw fleeting figures darting down the hallways. A sense of overwhelming dread washed over her. She was no longer the detached investigator, she was prey. Suddenly, a vision flashed before her eyes. A woman in a white dress, her face contorted in anguish, falling down a grand staircase. A name echoed in her mind, clear as a bell. Eleanor! Driven by this sudden insight, Sarah found herself drawn to a dusty portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. It depicted a beautiful woman with sad eyes. An inscription beneath it read, Eleanor Blackwood, 1888. As Sarah gazed at the portrait, the whispers seemed to coalesce, forming words she could finally understand. He betrayed me. A wave of icy cold enveloped the room, and the air crackled with energy. Sarah felt a presence behind her, a palpable sense of sorrow and rage. She turned slowly and saw a translucent figure standing before her, a woman in a tattered white dress, her eyes filled with an ancient pain. Eleanor. Sarah, despite her terror, felt a surge of empathy. "What happened to you, Eleanor?" she whispered. The ghostly figure reached out a trembling hand, and Sarah felt an unbearable sadness wash over her. Images flooded her mind: a secret love affair, a cruel betrayal, a tragic accident on the grand staircase. As Sarah absorbed Eleanor's story, the angry energy in the room began to dissipate. The whispers softened, becoming a mournful sigh. The temperature slowly returned to normal. Then, as suddenly as she had appeared, Eleanor's figure began to fade. The heavy oak doors creaked open once more. Sarah didn't hesitate. She grabbed her equipment and fled Blackwood Manor, not daring to look back. She never returned to Oakhaven, but she never forgot the whispering walls of Blackwood Manor and the tragic tale of Eleanor. From that night on, her skepticism was replaced by a profound respect for the unseen, for the stories that linger in the shadows, waiting to be heard. And sometimes she would still hear a faint whisper in the wind, a gentle sigh that reminded her of the woman trapped within the walls, finally finding a measure of peace.